Your first fix and hold real estate deal, tips and tricks and things you should know about. So let's talk about this, guys. When we talk about a fix and hold, a little bit different here. We're talking about buying a property that is in need of work. This property needs work, okay? The idea with that is then we value add. We add value to that property. Say we add $50,000 and fix it up and make it nice. When we do that, we should increase the overall cost of the property. So let's say we buy it for $100,000. We put $50,000 into it. Maybe it's worth $200,000 when we're done, because we bought a good deal, because we were really wise in how we spent this money and got good deals and didn't pay top-notch prices. And so we have some equity in here, right? So if it's $150,000, we've got some equity in here. Then the idea is you're using a hard money loan to do this part, and then you are refinancing into a DSCR or a long-term loan. So for the fixed portion, we're using a hard money loan, 6 months, 5 months, whatever the case is, 5 to 8 months, I would say. So at $200,000, if that's what the appraisal comes in at, once the property's fixed up, say 80%, whoops, times 0.80, you're going to be like 160,000. That would be 80%. So you could do even a little less than that. So 150 divided by 200, that'd be like 75%. So when we want to go to the hold portion, and before we actually buy this property, we want to get pre-approved for the hold, which is going to be a 30-year loan. This can be a DSCR, debt service coverage ratio loan, or this can just be like a 30-year fixed on a rental property loan. The rate's going to be a little bit higher here, but there's less qualifications. The DSCR, it's basically saying the debt service, the income covers the debt service. So a 1-to-1 ratio means $1,000 of rent and $1,000 of payment is a 1-to-1 ratio. A 1-to-2 ratio is for $1,200 of payment, I can have $1,000 of debt. That's a 1.2-to-1 ratio. So it's going to depend on the DSCR lender, but they're not looking at all the other things, your credit and all those things, as you would with a traditional loan. So the idea is we're buying a property that's undervalued that needs work. We're adding value to that property by getting work done to the property, increasing the value of the property, as well as a good deal. Now this property is worth $200,000. Now, before we do this, we're actually going to go and say, hey, what is the after repaired value of this property before I even buy this? So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get pre-approved for my hard money lender, okay? Then I'm going to understand their qualifications, because if I can't get the hard money lender to do it, I don't have a deal. So that's the first thing. The second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to then get pre-approved with a takeout finance lender, which in most cases is going to have some relationship with the hard money lender. So I'm going to get pre-approved with that. Once I'm done with that, then I'm going to go find a property using finding techniques on actually finding an undervalued property, either using our MLS sniper or going direct off-market properties. Either way, I'm going to be using finding techniques to find that property. Then once I acquire that property through getting the hard money loan, I'm going to value add by adding value to that property, and I will get an after repaired value before I actually even make the purchase. Then I get it reappraised once the work's done on the property. I take that pre-approval, I refinance to a rate and term refinance, and so I'm getting a 30-year fixed. Okay. That's kind of the idea with this. Now, a lot of people think they're going to make a lot of cash flow right off the bat, and simply that's just not the case. If you can, that's awesome. But in most places, if you're making cash flow, it's because you're giving up something. So I don't like to deal with areas that are high crime. I don't like to deal with areas that I wouldn't let my wife walk down the street alone at night. Those are areas I don't want to be in. I don't want to buy a property that I wouldn't live in if I needed to. Doesn't mean that I necessarily want to, but I could live there and be comfortable. So those are things that I'm looking for. So typically when you're doing this, you've got to realize that you make money in a few ways with rental real estate, okay? So one of the ways is if you do the fix and hold, you just created 25% equity or 20% of equity because you bought it as a good deal or you remodeled it. So this property that's worth $200,000, you only owe 160 on it, so you have $40,000 worth of equity. And the cool thing about this, that's a negative, sorry. The cool thing about this $40,000 is you haven't paid tax on it because you haven't realized the gain. This is an unrealized gain because you actually haven't sold the property and realized that gain, but you've got equity, so which is awesome, right? Okay, so that's the one way is you do the fix and hold. That's one of the ways that you make money. The second way you make money is through cash flow. Cash flow is the difference between all your costs, your taxes, your insurance, your payment, repairs, maintenance, vacancies, that type of stuff, and subtracted by the income that you get in. That's the cash flow. That's what you're not going to get much of right now, okay? And that's what a lot of people are looking for. If you're looking for that, you've got to be playing the long game, 10 to 20 years, which is what you should be doing. The next thing you're looking at is the amortization. What that basically means is every single month, let's jump back to our amortization calculator. So this is the idea. Let's say in this scenario, you're in the property 160,000. And let's say it's a 6% interest rate and we're looking at a 30-year loan, okay? We calculate this out, okay? That's a monthly payment of $959. That does not include property taxes. And that does not include insurance. So your hazard insurance will be added onto that. This is just principal and interest. They call it PI. The other thing you'll hear is PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. That would be considered a fully loaded payment when you're looking at all those things. The difference is if you have a fixed interest rate, your PI will stay the same for 30 years. It's not going to change. But your taxes, your property taxes could change and your insurance could change, although I wouldn't expect them to change drastically in most cases. Okay, so if you have this and we calculate it out, let's expand this. What's happening is every single month, when a payment's being made, a portion of that is going towards the principal balance. So if you made no money, but the tenant was making the payment every single month, the first month they pay $160 towards the mortgage, okay? Which pays down how much you owe of that 160. But here's what's really interesting. When you come down to year 30, $955 goes towards the principal and only $4 goes towards the interest. This is called amortization. And most people don't understand how this works. So the earlier on that you're making that payment, the more is going towards interest and the less is going towards principal. But the longer that you have this property, the more of that starts going towards principal. And at the very end of the loan, the majority is going towards the principal balance, bringing that principal balance down. So even if you break even, don't make any cash flow, you've walked into equity, okay? You're having a tenant that's paying down your amortization schedule, which is paying down that $160,000. The other thing that we're looking at here is you actually have, this is the fourth way that you're making money on this, is you are appreciation, okay? Here's what we see, guys. We see property values going up every 10 years. You're seeing a drastic increase in property value. So what I'm also going to see is the rent increase. So we can look at this rents over time by year. So if we look, this is 2021. So let's just go 10 years earlier. So let's go somewhere here. Rents are like $925. This is in 2021, and this would be in 2011. And let's come down here to 2000, rents around, let's just call it $600. So you kind of seen the same pattern here. Rents were about $600 in 2001, okay? Now rents are $1192, so it has doubled, it's 2 times, okay? You're making money through a lot of ways. You're making money through the value add and negotiating, which becomes equity. You're making money through the pay down of the amortization schedule that the tenant's doing every single month. You're also making money because rents are going to go up over time. And you're also making money because you're seeing the value go up over time. In addition to this, there are some tax benefits that you could be taking advantage of as well, like an accelerated depreciation, depending upon your personal situation. They can also be a great way. So even if you're not making the cash flow along the way, you've got to be playing the long game. And in playing the long game, you can see how that's going to grow your cash flow for a very long time.